Chapter 1 of St. Charles Borromeo, A Sketch of the Reforming Cardinal. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. St. Charles Borromeo, A Sketch of the Reforming Cardinal by Louise M. Stacpoole. Chapter 1 The Brightness of God. And the brightness of God shone round about them. On the night of October 2nd, 1538, the inhabitants of Verona were dazzled by the rays of a brilliant light shaped like a rainbow. This strange phenomenon flashed through the sky, passing from west to east, shining over the tower where the sentinels were on guard, and finally resting over the room of the Rocca d'Arona, in which Margaret Borromeo lay awaiting the birth of her child. And while this celestial splendor shone over and around her, Charles Borromeo was born. In this wonderful way it pleased Heaven to announce to the world the advent of a great reformer and a glorious saint. It looked as though God wished from the very moment of his entrance into life to make known that he would in future days be a burning and a shining light. At his canonization persons said that they had witnessed this marvel. The Rocca d'Arona no longer exists. In 1800 Napoleon Bonaparte commanded that it should be destroyed, and at the present day one sees only ruined walls. But from the stones and debris some pious people erected a little chapel in honor of St. Charles. Antiquaries tell us that it is on the site of the room in which he was born, and which was, with charming aptness, styled the Room of the Three Lakes, because from each of its three windows a different view was obtained of the lovely Lago Maggiore. Besides this little oratory towers the colossal statue in bronze of our saint, that stupendous figure that dominates the country for miles, and which one can see almost from the moment the steamer leaves the enchanting island of Isola Madre until we land at the pretty quay of Verona. From there it is but a short drive, a distance of only 2½ or 3 miles. It is, however, a dreadfully hot ride on a sultry day, for there is but little shade, and an Italian sun, though glorious and brilliant, is at noonday, and for some hours after just a trifle too glorious and brilliant. The best time to visit the ruins of the Rocca, the statue, and the chapel is in the early morning, for not only is it pleasanter, it is also more conducive to devotion, for one may be fortunate enough to assist at Holy Mass in the little oratory hallowed by so many pious memories. Priests travelling either for amusement or business generally make a point of spending a night at Arena, and offering up the Holy Sacrifice on the following morning in this blessed spot. At the time of the birth of Charles, the Church was in a most deplorable state. Never was there such pressing need of an orthodox reformer. Luther had started his so-called Reformation 21 years previously, and he and his followers, under the semblance of piety and zeal, had brought devastation into the fold, and had led astray and ruined many. Their heresies and false doctrines had caused the very names of Reformer and Reformation to be regarded with fear and horror by all good Catholics. But now the acceptable time had arrived, the day of salvation was at hand, when a new era was to give fresh life and vigour to the true Church, and Charles Borromeo was predestined from the moment of his birth to become the champion of the faith, the defender of the liberties of Holy Church, and the reformer of the many laxities and evils that had crept in during the sensuous, beauty-worshipping period of the Renaissance. In a word, he was, like John the Baptist, to give knowledge of salvation to his people, unto the remission of their sins, to enlighten them that sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, to direct our feet into the way of peace. Charles spent the days of his childhood at the old Rocca d'Arona with his father, Count Gilbert Borromeo, and his mother, Countess Margaret Nida Medici, the sister of Cardinal John de' Medici, who, when our saint was 22, was elected Pope, and took the name of Pius IV. When Charles was only 12, another uncle of his, Count Cesare Borromeo, resigned the Abbey of San Graziano at San Felino. It was a family living. Consequently, Count Gilbert immediately conferred it and its enormous revenues on his young son. Charles had not shown any very remarkable predilection for the ecclesiastical state, but in those days laymen could be titular abbots, and even be created cardinals. So, although the 12-year-old boy was now a mitred abbot, it did not follow that he would ever be ordained. Nevertheless, from the moment of his
Sample complete. Ready to continue?